I could have done this maybe another day or next week or what have you. But I just said, you know what, I know I'm driving, but I need to pour this message out. I have a need to pour this message out and share it with you all. So, my loving soul family, I wonder how many of you listen to this question that I'm about to ask carefully. Listen carefully to this question that I'm about to ask you. How many of you have ever been in a situation where you have been made to feel like the villain? It's a very important question. How many of you, if it's you, raise your hand, do a thumbs up, throw in an emoji, something. How many of you have ever been made to feel like you are the villain in the story? How many of you are living through something right now? How many of you are experiencing a situation right now in which you have been made to feel like you are the villain, the bad one, the ungrateful one, the bitch, the asshole? Do tell, do tell, do tell. Lord, even my bald head itches. Do tell. Have any of you have ever been made to feel like you are the villain, the bad one, the ungrateful one? Have you ever been made to feel like you are the villain in the story? Now, I am sincerely speaking only to those of you who know that you truly, you know that you are not the villain. This only goes out to those of you that truthfully know you are not the villain. So the question again is, how many of you have ever been in a situation in which you have been made to feel like the villain? Or are you experiencing a situation right now in which you are being made to feel like you are the villain, the bad one, the ungrateful one, the bitch? If it's you, raise your hand, throw in an emoji, say something. Have you ever been made to feel like you are the villain? I'm glad to know that this is a familiar topic. Now let me tell you very briefly before I get to my destination. Hold on, I need to make sure that I'm back. So, very briefly, I want to really just express to you, again, this message is only for those of you that have ever been made to feel like the villain. If you have ever been made to feel like you are the villain of the story, if you have ever been made to feel that you are the ungrateful one in your family, in your relationships, whether it's romantic relationships, friendships, whether it's in your workplace, this also includes your workplace, your professional environment. If you have ever been made to feel like you are the villain in the story, the bad one, the culprit, the guilty, and though you know deep down in your heart that you are not at fault for what you are being accused of, this very brief and short message, as I am on my way to a spiritual gathering, this message is for you. Listen up. Listen up, motherfuckers. Listen up. I have no filter tonight. Not that I ever do, but bear with me. Don't get offended. If you are easily get offended, get off my fucking life. But let me tell you something. If you have ever been made to feel like you're a villain, this is a classic. Listen to me carefully, my soul family. This is a classic approach from people who never want to accept responsibility over the things that they do. They never want to accept responsibility over the things that they do or have done or continue to do. They never want to admit. They never want to take ownership. They never want to say, you know what, I was wrong. They don't have it in them. They don't know how to. They don't care to. Others don't give a shit. Whichever the case may be, it is easier for them to make you feel like you are the culprit, like you are the villain, like you are the bad one in their story, rather than accepting the role that they have played. And the reason why I did not want to wait too long to share this very quick message with you is because I got a download that too many of you are living a sacrificed, listen to my words carefully, many of you are living a sacrificed life, emotionally speaking, mentally speaking, vibrationally speaking, energetically speaking. Many of you are living a sacrificed life due to how others have turned you into the villain of their story. Do you hear me? And because habits, repetitive behaviors becomes, how can I say this? In Spanish we say que los hábitos se hace costumbre, which means in English, our habits can become customs, our customs, right? You have been trained, keyword, to feeling like you are guilty, like you are wrong, like you are ungrateful, like you're not a good person, which then ultimately, through years and months and of conditioning, it will lead you to feeling like you are not worthy. That's my key point. This is my key point. Hear me out, you all. This is my key point. I'm not even going to share this live. So whoever's on here is on here. I'm not going to share this live. I'm thinking, how is it? I was asking Spirit, my higher self. I was asking Spirit a question, and the question was, why is it that so many people in this day and age feel unworthy? Why is it that so many talented, beautiful, capable people feel yet so unworthy? Because, Lord and behold, as many readings as I do, I get so many people that just feel worthless. And we're talking about intelligent, capable people. Intelligent people. Beautiful individuals. Good-hearted individuals. And then yet, they just don't feel worthy. So it made me question Spirit, not question Spirit in that sense, but I mean, it made me want to pose a question to Spirit. And the question I experienced is, why are so many people feeling unworthy? And needless to say, this is not the answer to every single person that feels unworthy, right? There are many, countless of reasons as to why people feel unworthy. But what I did get as a download today, that there are many people that feel unworthy due to the strict, deep conditioning that made them feel so. And such conditioning started by way of making you feel like you are the culprit, the ungrateful one, the villain. When you live in an environment, when you live scenarios in which you are continuously, repeatedly made to feel like you're guilty, you're wrong, you're guilty, this is your fault, this is you, it was you, you don't deserve this, it was your fault, I did this because it was your fault, this happened because it was your fault, that person died because you weren't paying attention, this person left you because you did this, you're guilty, you. When you are continuously told this, especially if you've been living this from an early age, there comes a point in time in your life where you start to build a relationship with unworthiness, with those feelings of unworthiness, with those feelings of, I don't deserve this, I don't deserve love, I don't deserve happiness, I don't deserve acceptance, I don't deserve to be nurtured, I don't deserve to be cared for, I don't deserve the good things, I don't deserve greater things, I don't deserve commitment, I don't deserve children, I don't deserve marriage, I don't deserve respect, I don't deserve loyalty, I don't deserve a raise, I don't deserve a better job, I don't deserve a better employment, I don't deserve to be a business owner, I don't deserve a house, I don't deserve a better car, I don't deserve this. You start to train your brain to think that you don't deserve the better things in life. But the question is, where did this start? It started by the people in your life that from the head-go, Lord, here I am driving, I'm not even in my spiritual environment, and I can just get connected because I just can. There have been people that have been dedicated to making you feel like the culprit, to making you feel like the villain. That's why the question I posed was, how many of you have ever been in a situation in which you have been made to feel like the villain of the story? You have been made to feel like you are the villain, the bad one, the ungrateful one. And if this is you, then ultimately you then started building a relationship with unworthiness. Do you hear me? That's how that started. You were told that you were ugly. You were told that you are a bad person. You were told repeatedly in different scenarios, whether by way, listen to this very carefully, whether by way of the same person or by different peoples, you have been told that you are the villain. You are the one responsible for the bad things that happen at home, for the bad things that happen in your parents' relationships, for the bad things that happen in the environment that you were living in or that you were raised in, okay? You were convinced by adults. You were convinced by adults that you were the guilty one. Daddy left because of you. I am in this situation because of you. We don't have any money because of you. You were trained to think that you were the villain. You've always been made to feel like you are the villain, which is why you don't know how to receive. Even if the greatest thing sits or stands in front of you, you don't know how to receive it, because all that your brain cells know what to register is the fact that you are a villain. The false, because it ain't a fact. The false that you are a villain, that you don't deserve the greater things. Do you hear me? Does anyone hear me? Am I making any fucking sense to any of you? Do you hear me? So it is your homework. It is your fucking job. Listen, I ain't filtering this. I do know I don't filter anything, but I'm sure you ain't filtering anything right now. Either love me the way I am or just log off. Let me tell you something. It is your fucking responsibility to start training your brain differently. Because hear me out, you all. This is real. That's why I couldn't wait. Even though I'm on my way to this misa, this seance I'm supposed to do, I'm like, I should just be in my office, doing this live. I could do it next week. I'm Spirit telling me in my ear, no, motherfucker, you're going to go on there and go live right now and just deliver this damn message. You know, and I just needed to come on here to just ask this very important question. How many of you, which was the original question, if there are any people that joined us a little late, how many of you have ever been made to feel like you are the villain? Have you ever been in a situation where you were made to feel like you were the villain, the bad one, the ungrateful one, the culprit? Especially if this started happening to you at an early age, when you were a child or when you were a teenager, especially if this started happening when you were very young. This does not exclude those of you that have been exposed to this kind of treatment during your adulthood, but it really does a number to a person when you've been treated like this at a very early age. Because again, let me repeat myself. If you have followed, please follow my message. If you have ever been made to feel like you are the villain, like you are the culprit, like you are the guilty one, though you and God and Spirit knows that it's not your fault, that you're not guilty, that you're not the villain, but then yet you have been mentally and emotionally conditioned to think and believe that you are at fault, that you are the villain, that you are guilty, and that you are wrong. This indirectly has contaminated your spirit. It contaminates your spirit in what sense? To what degree? It contaminates your spirit into not knowing eventually, in the long run, you don't know how to receive, you don't know how to embrace, you don't know how to accept good things. If you've ever been, let's also put it this way. This is not just about your parent or the person that raised you. This also goes to those of you that have been in romantic relationships with people that always make you feel like the villain. Does anyone know what I mean? Do you all know what I mean? Is there anyone in this live right now that can identify with this? When you have always been made to feel like the villain, either by your romantic partner, by a family member, by your so-called best friend, by your caretaker, by the person that raised you, made to feel like the villain, the culprit. This happened because of you. This happened because of you. This happened to us because of you. We don't have any money because of you. I hurt you because you made me hurt you. Have you ever heard that? Have you ever been treated as such? These are people that do not ever want to accept responsibility. Listen to me. If you don't listen to anything I say, listen to this. These are people that do not ever want to accept responsibility over their actions. They don't ever want to own their shortcomings. They don't ever want to own, nor accept, nor confess the role that they have played in this dynamic, in this unity, in this relationship, or this whatever. They're not accountable. They're not accountable. They're not accountable. They do not hold themselves accountable. So it's easier for them to make you the culprit, to make you the villain in their story, to make you the guilty one, to make you at fault, than to be accountable. Okay? And the reason, I repeat myself again because I need this to be drilled into your inner spirit and soul. The reason this is very important for you to know and understand and to do healing work around it is because if you've been dealing with this kind of scenario for years, I repeat myself. You then are conditioned. You then are brainwashed. You then are eventually, in the long run, convinced. As crazy, if this has never happened to you, don't laugh, because this does happen to people. When you are told something repeatedly over and 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 over again, even though you know it's not true, there comes a point where you start to believe that lie about yourself. Okay? You start to believe that lie about yourself. You start to believe that you are guilty, that you are bad, that you are ugly, that you don't deserve, that you are guilty, that you are the villain, that you are the bad person, that you are cursed. And that ultimately this goes to the other level of you not knowing how to embrace good things, not knowing how to accept good people, not knowing how to truly accept love, not knowing how to truly stand in your power, not knowing how to own your voice because it was taken away from you. This then, if you want to take it another fucking deep, a level deeper, this is how people end up in suicide. This is why people end up in mental wards. This is why people give up. This is why people live, como es la palabra, en la monotonía. This is how people live. Oh fuck! What's the word I'm looking for? This is how people, you see them walking around looking numb. They're just walking numb. Okay. Am I making any sense to you? I know I'm driving, making sure I don't hit nobody hits me and whatever. But I couldn't wait to deliver this fucking message. I just couldn't wait. I could not wait any other day to deliver this message. I needed to deliver this. And if you're listening to this message right now, thank you, monotony, yes. If you listen to the message right now, if it resonates with you because you've been through it personally, or because you know someone that is going through this right now, please share this fucking live. It ain't about the numbers. It ain't about the likes. It ain't about the comments. It ain't about, another a follower. It's about getting this message out there to someone that needs to hear it so that they can, maybe something inside of them ignites and they're like, wait a minute. What the fuck am I doing here? What the fuck am I doing with this person? What the fuck am I doing in this job? What the fuck am I doing trying to salvage a relationship that's based on accusations, false accusations? Oh, did you hear that? Why am I sitting in a relationship that's not even based on love? It's based on false accusations. Hello? Anybody? Hello? So therefore, share this message with somebody. Tag somebody in this message. I started saying in the beginning that I wasn't going to share this live, but now I am. Tag somebody. Tell somebody, hey, you may not want to hear this, but I need you to hear this. Because trust me when I say, this goes on every day. This goes on every day. And some of you that might have truly needed to hear this message today, I don't know who you are, but as you know, I always like to say, Spirit knows who you are. Maybe your spirit truly needs to feel free. You needed to set your spirit free. Don't thank me. Thank Spirit. Thank God. Thank the universe. Thank Mother Earth. Thank whatever it is you believe in, connect with as a higher source. They just grabbed me and took me as a vessel to deliver this message. But I felt it so heavy in my heart. I felt it very heavy in my heart because I was truly asking Spirit, why do so many people in this day and age feel so unworthy? I have never, I do readings. I deal with so many people. And that's why I ask Spirit, coño, ¿por qué la gente por qué hay tanta gente que se sienten tan insuficiente? That's the question I ask Spirit. Because of all the readings I've been having lately, I ask Spirit, why are there so many people who feel so unworthy? Just so unworthy. And that's the answer I got. This shoe may not fit everyone, but it sure as hell fits a lot of people. It goes to the first question posed at the beginning of this live. Have you ever, by anyone, whether it's your caretaker, parent, the person that raised you, your significant other, a best friend, a family member, a boss, a business partner, have you ever been made to feel like the culprit, the guilty, the villain, even though you know you're not, even though you know you're not, then yet you've always been made to feel like you are the guilty one, that you are the culprit one, that you are not, that you are deserving of all the bad things that happens to you. You're guilty. You're the bad one. You don't deserve this. You make me do this. You make me hurt you. We are in this situation because of you. You. Have you ever been in this kind of situation? Where you've always been made to feel like you are guilty, the culprit, the bad one, the ugly one. This is why, then, next level, you start to feel unworthy in life. This is why you start to feel unworthy in life. Because you were convinced that you were guilty, that you're a bad person. And then ultimately, when you start to feel unworthy in life, you then come to a point in time in your life when you do not know how to embrace good things. When they do appear, you do not know, this is the key word, you do not know how to identify it, much less accept it and embrace it. Because your brain has been conditioned and your heart and your inner spirit has been intoxicated to the degree of always making you feel like you are guilty, like you're the bad person, like you're the culprit. And then when you don't take steps to change this, then yes, eventually you start to then manifest people in your life that will always do the same thing to you. Always. And it's only coming from people that don't ever take ownership, don't ever accept their wrongdoings, don't ever know how to accept that they're wrong. They don't ever hold themselves accountable. That's why you will always be in a situation, unless you change this, you will always be in a situation in which you are receiving less. Okay? And then ultimately, this goes as far as to affecting your physical health, because then it will affect your mental health, which is part of your physical health. It would affect how, this is so much deeper. I might do another live about this. It starts to affect how you treat yourself, how you take care of yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, energetically, how you show up to places. This is then how then you start to not care what you look like. You think you look okay, but you don't look okay. You go to job interviews, and then you want to be hired, but you're not even playing the part right because you're not even dressed correctly for this job interview. Okay? Or you go to places always looking meek, looking down, always looking, like you don't want to stand out because you were convinced that you were guilty, that you were ugly, that you were not worthy. So therefore, you don't wear anything, you don't put up anything, you don't put out anything that makes you stand out. Ultimately, then, this calls upon and downloads low vibrational energies, vibrations and spirits and what have you, that keep you looking down, keep you looking gray, gloomy, lacking light. You're not the villain. You're not guilty. It was never your fault to begin with. How about that? It was never your fault to begin with. You've just been trained to think like it is. And you know what's even more fucked up? Because you were trained to think so, years later, then you really start to act like it. You start to play the role that you were convinced of. Lord, that's even worse. That's even worse. When you start to play the role of what you were convinced by someone else that you were. Come on now, Lord, baby, Black Jesus, help me. It's time to take off that cloak. It's time to take off that where it don't belong to you. It never did. You were convinced your whole life that you were always the bad person, the villain, the guilty, the culprit, the one responsible over all the misfortunes in the family. This was never true. But you were convinced of this. And now it's time for you to cleanse your inner spirit so that you may raise that vibration, so that you can ascend energetically and start to look at yourself differently. And maybe you start to manifest better and greater things. Better and greater things. Why? Simply because, beloved, you always deserved it. Listen to this as I'm getting to my destination now. It is time for you to get the message that the reality is that you always deserved the greater things. You always deserved it. But you were never told. You were never told it. You were never told that you deserved great things. You were never told that you deserved great things. If you were to just focus on the power of that message alone, of that statement alone, wow. Just imagine for a couple of seconds, if instead of you going through what you went through, imagine if instead of you being told that you were always a bad child, ungrateful child, an ugly child, imagine if you were told you deserve great things. You deserve beautiful things. You deserve happiness. You deserve good things. Imagine if you were told that. Imagine if you were told as a child, you're beautiful. Instead of being told you're ugly, imagine how much different your life would have been had you been told you're beautiful. Imagine how much different your life would have been if you had been told you're worthy, you're beautiful. The truth of the matter is that they are, which I'm not going to get into right now, but there are this other group of parents that did not necessarily wanted to intentionally inflict pain. Listen to this. I don't know who this is for, but there is this other group of parents that may have not wanted to, intentionally speaking, inflict pain onto you. They weren't necessarily bad people on purpose, but they made a major mistake. And such mistake was that all they knew how to do was reprimand, was to point out the things that you were doing wrong, or the things that they felt you weren't doing correctly. They would always point out the things that were not finished, but they never took the time to say, you're worthy, you're beautiful, you deserve the best. We need to understand that such words can make a difference, a major life-changing difference in a person's life. A major difference. If you're going to point out the bad, take time to also point out the good in your child. For those of you that are mothers, for those of you that are fathers, if you're going to point out the bad things, make it fair and always make the time to point out the good things too. Because your child deserves all of it. The very best. So that your daughter, so that your son does not grow up always feeling wrong, always feeling misplaced, always feeling guilty, always feeling like nothing is ever right. It'll make a major difference in their life. Trust and believe me. Over and out. Tag somebody in this video. Tag somebody in this video. Share this video in your stories and in your timeline. Peace and blessings. Much love.